well, for Neolution as well. So anyway, getting underway with the game. Welcome everyone to the SEA League Qualifier number 1. I am basically bringing you guys this game. This is just, again, an unofficial cast for me, so I'm just in here from the ticket. If you're looking for the official cast, that's Gods over on the Beyond the Summit stream, but he is actually covering a different game tonight since there are concurrent games running. So, getting underway with the game. Nyx is going to be the first ban for Neolution Academy, who are going to be over on the dire side, and Gangster are going to follow us up with their first ban. Worth noting that Neolution are playing with a stand-in, so that's Robot Z over on their side, and Gangster do have their full lineup. I don't really have any other notes to make tonight. If anyone has any scrims or games or anything like that they'd like me to cover, then send me an email over at basecapdota@gmail.com, but that's about the extent of it. We're going to see Batrider banned out by Gangster, and Magnus going to be the ban for Neolution Academy. So Darkseer does still remain in the pool, Undying as well, sort of a fairly common first round ban these days as well. What other options are worth mentioning? I feel like I should start bringing up the Phantom Lancer and the Keeper of the Light a little bit more. If you can get your hands on both of them, I think we've all seen how devastating the current Phantom Lancer is. He doesn't necessarily require the Keeper of the Light, but Keeper of the Light is obviously a ridiculous combo with him. And a big part of that is the fact that one way to shut down a Phantom Lancer is to offensively tri-lane against him. Shut down his farm and stop him snowballing into sort of the monster that he becomes. But with the Keeper of Light, it's obviously one of the best defensive tri-lane supports in the game, and the infinite Spirit Lance spam does become extremely annoying. Very difficult to deal with. And the other thing with the Keeper of the Light is not only does it turn Phantom Lancer into even more of a split pushing monster, he's also got great anti-push to give PL enough space to farm up those core items. So Darkseer is going to be the ban out here. Neolution do have first pick. Kind of difficult to call what the natural first pick is here. We might see something like the Keeper of the Light. Again, there are ways to deal with giving away a Coddle PL, but with teams that are on a fairly even footing, I mean, I'm not sure how much I can comment on that in terms of the standings between these two teams, but between teams who are on fairly even footing, it's extremely difficult to deal with a Phantom Lancer. And I've seen, I think, every single strategy under the sun attempted against a PL. I think we've seen Wild Honey Badgers run things like an OD, we've seen Power Rangers trying to run Magnus and Syllabear with Cleave, Magnus, Syllabear, and Alchemist, so Cleave on two big right clickers trying to bring the illusions down, and none of them really enough. So Rubik's actually going to be the first pickup here for Neolution. So Gangster, the Keeper of the Light, is there for them if they would like it. Though there are still so many strong heroes in the pool, it's difficult to say exactly where the draft is going, just with only the Rubik pickup. And I guess Rubik, sort of in his own way, a little bit of a counter to everything. He's nice because he does help shut down AoE teamfight right off the bat, and the Rubik first pick was something that was obviously quite common back when he could be played as a mid, but these days it's a little bit more difficult, and PL and Coddle are going to be picked up here by Gangster. So this is difficult. I guess if Toons is watching, we were joking around a little bit earlier that the one way to deal with the Keeper of the Light, since he's such a pain, is to go for something really funky and try and max out Nullfield on Rubik early on so you can actually keep your creep waves alive and continue pushing. But Gangster grabbed themselves an extremely good combo here between the PL and the Coddle. And I guess this also plays into how sort of the overall drafting structure works right now. The 4 heroes that you see banned out at the moment are fairly typical bans. Against a team that has a strong Wisp player, then you will sometimes see Wisp sneak his way in there, and that changes the drafting dynamic a little bit, but the majority of the heroes that you currently see banned are accepted as extremely strong. And because of the nature of those 4 being the strong heroes, it does mean that second pick is quite strong at the moment. It almost forces your opponent into maybe taking the Keeper of Light as the first pickup, but while PL is weakened by not having Coddle, he's not necessarily shut down by it, so yeah. So Neolution, what's the response going to be from them here? They could try and pick up something like a Nyx, try and run themselves a nice offensive tri-lane. Rubik is okay in sort of an offensive tri-lane situation. Again, it's difficult against the Keeper of the Light and the PL, but unless you can sort of take it to their side early on, PL can obviously spiral out into the late game. So Neolution, their response is actually going to be to pick up a Nature's Prophet, so a little bit of split pushing power there. Part of the problem is going to be trying to split push against a PL and a Coddle, but if they can leverage his early game push before Coddle gets too many levels, before the PL gets too many items, then he can obviously be a fairly strong force in this game. And Shadow Demon actually going to be the pickup as well. So a fairly defensive pairing of supports here between the Rubik and the Shadow Demon. And hopefully we'll see some nice damage coming out of their carry. And then probably their mid pick. Nature's Prophet, again, sort of difficult to lock down in terms of the draft. We do see some teams running him on mid, though he is typically in the current metagame either a jungler, jungler / offlaner, going down to mitigate push on the offlane whenever he's needed. And that might be necessary here if they let Coddle PL +1 be a defensive try lane. They do have some good push potential there. So Gangster, they're going to pick up a Puck as their mid. They were a little bit stun light earlier, but the Dream Coil is a nice team fight to have. And Puck is obviously a very versatile mid, has been making waves a little bit more in the metagame these days as well. A pretty good response to a lot of the mids that we do see of late, and pretty good against melee mids as well. Has a nice combination of wave control into rune control, into dealing with some of the strong mids like Quap, which have been trending a little bit of late. So, right now, Gangster looking for an offlaner and that remaining support. It would be nice to see them secure a little bit more stun in their secondary support, since Keeper of the Light isn't necessarily a great ganker, and if Neolution start running maybe some Nature's Prophet teleport ganks on the Puck on mid, then there isn't really the opportunity for a Keeper of the Light to come through and try and get a gank off to bring the mid lane back to even. So hopefully we'll see a stunning support for Gangster, and then they're also looking for an offlaner right now, so that's obviously motivating the Windrunner ban at the moment. Neolution, what are they looking for? They're looking for their carry, and they are probably just looking for a mid as well. We might see some Quap versus Puck action in this game. If they're looking to try and go for the maximum push, we could see something like a Tinker try and use that split push to great effect, but again, Keeper of Light is just such a pain, not only to push against, but also when you try and push against him, he's going to be continuously split pushing. Phantom Lancer is going to be continuously split pushing, and then can just be brought into any fight he's needed for using the recall, obviously leaving illusions behind at the same time, which forces a response from the illusion. So Nature's Prophet is an okay pickup in that regard in trying to deal with the split push. But once those illusions get tanky enough in the late game, sending a solar Nature's Prophet back is not going to be enough to just shut down a huge swarm of illusions. So we're going to see a Faceless Void ban out here by Gangster, a fairly typical carry against a Phantom Lancer. And Neolution have managed to secure themselves the Shadow Demon as well. So while I have had a bit of a gripe about their supports being fairly defensive, and that the fact that they're going to try and pick up damage, relatively early game damage between their carry and their mid. If this does go late, we might see a little bit of, we might see some shenanigans with Neolution getting their own army of Phantom Lancers just from using that disruption. So Night Stalker is going to be banned out here by Neolution. There is the potential for the Puck to be forced off to the offlane. It is something that we do see some teams running, but just the lack of a recovery mechanism on the Puck. If it starts to die a couple of times early on, then it's really difficult to try and flash farm your way back up. You can't really go into the jungle or anything like that. Maybe Keeper of the Light can set up a few stacks for Puck to make a recovery, but that's about the extent of it. So Neolution, they're going to choose to ban out the Undying here. They could still look for an offensive trial lane. The Naix does remain in the pool, but not all that heavy in terms of damage, especially if it's going to be Rubik and Shadow Demon as those two supports. Luna wouldn't have been bad, though she has been banned out, and kind of squishy against the likes of PL and Coddle. So we might not even see Neolution able to pick up an offensive try here. They could go for a Brewmaster, in fact. Pretty good combo with the SD and the Rubik, and that clap damage synergizing fantastically with the Soul Catcher. It's not a bad offensive try lane. The problem is, as always, going to be offensive try laning against that Keeper of the Light, and Gangster could still opt for something like a Jakiro as their remaining support. And Anti-Mage is going to be banned out here by Gangster. So another sort of split pushing carry going to be removed from the pool by them. So, yeah, exactly, chat. The anti-mage was predicted by chat, but it has been banned out by Gangster. So they're just a very small step ahead. So Neolution, the Quap remains in the pool as a potential mid. We've seen the Quap versus Puck matchup a couple of times in the last few days, or at least in the games that I've been watching. It is a matchup which can go either way. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit phlegmy. But Tiny is actually going to be the pickup. Okay, so it's even more push for Neolution. This works out okay with the Shadow Demon pick. There are pros and cons. It's difficult to find ganks using the Shadow Demon as setup for the Tiny because obviously you've got Disruption Illusions interfering with the Avatos combo just a little bit, but the upside is that Tiny can just go treads straight into Ags. You can use the Shadow Demon Illusions with the Disruption just to wail on towers and force Gangster to try and take a team fight. So Tiny's being picked up here. The Wisp does remain in the pool, but that would bump Rubik up a little bit in terms of priority, which would maybe be a little bit weird to see. And TA is actually going to be the pickup here for Gangster, so it looks like that's going to bump Puck either into a solo safe or a solo off role. TA more than likely going to be the mid, and Gangster right now just looking for a remaining support. But they could be looking to form an offensive tri lane right now. Again, all they really need is a nice sort of long duration stun out of that support, and they would have enough damage, especially against someone like a Tiny who's quite weak in a try versus try scenario. So, Neolution, what's it going to be? Is it still just going to be a mid for them? Jakiro's actually going to be the pickup, so it looks like they might be bumping Rubik up a little bit in terms of farm. Well, Rubik, Shadow Demon, and Jakiro are all heroes that can potentially take a solo lane, that can potentially take mid. Jakiro, we have seen him run by Dendi on Na'Vi a couple of times as a counter to the TA, but we'll see how this works out for Neolution in this game. Again, the Quap did remain in the pool, so it's a little bit unusual to see the Jakiro pickup, but maybe there is some secret strat that I'm not seeing here. They could try and 4-man down a tower at the start of the game. They've got the Liquid Fire, they've got Treant as well, and some relatively good level 1 fight. But again, dealing with the Keeper of the Light, it's an absolute pest. So, Gangster, last pickup for them, hopefully just going to be that remaining support, and there are so many options left in the pool as well. Hard to pick exactly which one it's going to be, but again, would be nice to see some stun. Lena doesn't really have a setup stun right now on the side of Gangster, so we probably won't see that, or probably not the Leshrac either. Probably just a single target stunner. We could even see something like a support Sven in this game.
10 seconds remaining.
So what's it going to be? It's going to be a Sand King, so they do manage to grab themselves some stun with that last support and some nice team fight as well. They do definitely have enough space to pick up another melee hero, so we're going to be getting underway with the game in just a minute. Hopefully I won't butcher the pronunciation on too many people's names, and then hopefully we have an exciting match ahead of us. And I'm just going to have another very quick sip of water since for some reason my throat is hating me today. Okay, so we're going to have a quick pause. Gives me time to run over who's playing what. So over on Neolution, we're going to have Brownies playing the Shadow Demon. King of Sky is playing the Rubik. Robot Z is on the Tiny. Hansel Solve or something. Well, this is difficult. Okay, someone's gonna have to clarify that for me in chat. I'm seeing HANCLSOLVLE perhaps, or this could just be being used as space, and we'll call him Hank. Yeah. So Misty L is going to be playing the Jakiro. Over on the side of Gangster, we've got Heinrich playing the Templar Assassin. All as well is going to be on the Sand King. Yuk is going to be on the Keeper of the Light. SWS on the Puck, and May is going to be on the Phantom Lancer. So, in terms of lanes, still interested to see how Neolution are going to be choosing to run them. We've got a couple of disconnects off right now from the side of Gangster, so looks like we're going to have a reasonably extended pause, though. Hopefully not too long, hopefully not G League levels, since I don't have anyone to make bad knock-knock jokes with or anything like that. Oh, and I'll just take this opportunity to switch in the overlay as well, so everybody can see. Everyone can see my obnoxious name on the screen. And Rubik being twitchy as always during the pauses, that always freaks me out a little bit. A reminder again that there is another game being played right now, both in the client and on the Beyond the Summit stream. Gods is solo casting that one. It's First Departure against Full Tilt. I want to give a big mention to First Departure since they actually won the Pro League of the Only Gaming Matters SEA tournament, tournament number 2 last night, which I was casting over on the OGM stream. So big shout out to those guys. Well played last night, and I believe they also played in the Flash Dota 2 League, which is going on in Singapore right now. So they've had a pretty packed schedule for the last few days, and they were actually online fairly late, finishing up the grand finals of that OGM game yesterday. So big shout outs to them. But a couple of people are reconnecting in now. And Mizram doesn't have delay on his stream apparently, so just needs to add that in. On the topic of delay, it's a little bit difficult for amateur casters and people who aren't partnered with Twitch to add delay to their stream. I actually had this problem yesterday where I was live casting a tournament, obviously that OGM tournament, and with XSplit, because I'm not a premium user, I can't use their built-in delay, and I'm not partnered with Twitch, and the stream that I was using wasn't partnered with Twitch, so we couldn't add delay that way. If you are an amateur caster and you use FFSplit or Open Broadcaster software, which is another piece of freeware for streaming, both of them are great. You should check them both out if you're considering doing any streaming or any casting. There is a little program called TCP Delay, which is put together by someone on Reddit called Zaymar. If you Google that up, it is a handy little program for adding delay to FFSplit. I think OBS actually has it built in right out of the box. So still just waiting through this pause. I'm going to try and tweak my air conditioning since it's getting actually a little bit humid in here. We've had rain the last few days in Brisbane, so the air is a little bit sodden at the moment. Hello, Jolo1 in chat, nice to see you. Again, I'm not actually streaming with delay because I just spectate via Dota TV, which gives me access to the very nice smooth drag camera. Hello Kevin, how's it going? If you've been in contact with Borwick, I still don't have those spoofed trades. Well, still don't have those spoofed bets over on Dota Lounge, and I'm checking every single day, waiting to put that video up for you guys. So I can't check pings, unfortunately. So the complaint from Heinrich, I won't be able to check into a little bit, unfortunately, since I'm not actually in the game. Again, I'm just streaming off Dota TV. So right now, still just waiting out the pause. I don't really have all that much else to talk about. I mean, sizing up both teams, it's a little bit difficult to say where it's going to go. If Neolution can get the pressure on early and leverage the Nature's Prophet pick, then and keep the farm down on the PL, then they should be in a pretty good position. But the problem with having a TA as the mid and then PL as the carry is if you dedicate a lot of time to trying to shut down the PL, then TA is going to get up a reasonable level of farm, and then you have a TA to deal with as well. So TA is nice in so far as you've got effectively duo carry, I guess like 1.8 carry, if you want me to give an opinion on how hard I think the TA carries. But if you dedicate too many resources to one, the other one is going to spiral out of control. So Neolution need to be very, very well calculated in their ganks. If they're investing 4 or 5 heroes to try and pick up 1 kill, then I'm not sure if that's actually working out in their favor, especially with heroes like the Keeper of the Light and the Puck slowing down their push afterwards, which is going to prevent them from really translating kills into a sizable advantage on the map. And I just closed chat for a second, so. Okay, so to clarify with chat, so Gods is having technical problems, that sucks. I can't check pings from console while spectating because I'm not actually in the game. So the way that Dota TV spectating works is that there's actually a bot or a camera added to the to the actual game when the game is hosted, and then everybody sort of enters through that slot. So yeah, I'm just casting off Dota TV, which means if I actually go to the console and I type ping, I don't get anything because I'm not actually in the game. So unfortunately, I can't check that out for you guys. So yeah, that's about it. There are a couple of other differences between being a broadcaster, being live with the game, and being a Dota TV spectator. For one, I can't draw on the map. I don't get any of the map drawing or the pings from either team. So anyone who's doing amateur casting, it's actually pretty different casting off Dota TV or a replay compared to being live with the game. Because when you're live with the game, you get all of the team's pings, you get all of the team's map drawing as well, so you can sort of stay ahead of the game a little bit in that regard. The other big differences that are sort of in favor of spectating is that right now I'm live with you guys, so if anyone has any concerns in chat, if I start lagging or if there are any issues with the stream, I can immediately respond to it without it turning up 2 minutes later. And the other big advantage, which is going to be sort of made even next week, is this smooth drag camera option. So the way that smooth drag works, and a lot of you will be familiar with the camera grip option, so the way that camera grip works is you either hit the middle mouse button or you hit a hotkey that you bind, and you basically click on the map and then you can drag the map as if it were sort of, a touch interface, or you're dragging it underneath the scroll. The way that smooth drag works is that you hit that hotkey or the middle mouse button, so I guess you can hear me hitting the hotkey there, and then when you click, your mouse cursor disappears, and if I drag the cursor up, then I start to very smoothly scroll up. If I bring it back down below the position where I clicked, I start to smoothly scroll down. And it's a great way to have very precise control over the camera because you can change it at a moment's notice. You can track over a particular hero. If a team starts to break up, you're not forced to use sort of the jerky movements from the arrow keys. So that's nice. I actually sent a private message to Chris C on the dev forums this week asking if we're going to see the smooth drag implemented for broadcasters, so people who are watching the game live, and I received a response back saying that that should be pushed through for next week's update. So I'll finally have I'll finally have access to smooth drag while I'm doing games live. Yeah, I guess info for anyone who is interested. That might have been a bit of a snooze fest for anyone else. What else is interesting in the world of Dota right now? Expect to see a little bit less Lifestealer since he's received a minor nerf in terms of synergy with heroes like Magnus. Rage now properly dispels buffs like haste and double damage and empower and bloodlust. So yeah, it's exciting stuff. The new orange lineup is looking really strong. I'm looking forward to see them play, though obviously they are going to have to take some time to get used to one another. And Steam Cloud files are gone, reconnect button not appearing. Yeesh, it seems like problems galore. What country am I from? There's a little bit of information down in the down below the stream. I'm from South Africa. I have an American accent, and I live in Australia. And looks like we're going to have a remake with Allpick, so that one might already be up. We'll have a quick check. Any teams I'm particularly rooting for TI3? I want to see LGD Int make a big splash, because I get the feeling they're not actually going to... no, this is the same game. I get the feeling that they're not actually going to play against too many Western teams in tournaments before TI3. And so hopefully we'll see them have a big impact. And thanks, Xylops. I guess it's a bit of a weird accent. It's still primarily American, but I guess I lost some of the edge just from living in Australia as well. So thanks for the compliment on the accent. I'm not really... Well, I guess I didn't really work on it. It's just lucky that I guess I'm okay to listen to. And that's the unfortunate thing for a lot of people who are trying to get into casting and things like that. One big problem is people's streams and your internet connection, because people don't really want to listen. Well, people don't want to watch your stream. You could be the best caster in the world, and if you have a laggy, unwatchable, low resolution, low bitrate stream, then nobody wants to watch because it's just unwatchable. And then the other problem is, I mean, unfortunately, some people just don't like other people's voices. I don't really have any problems when I'm listening to other people broadcast, but that does sway people's opinions a little bit, and a lot of those things are things that you can't change. A lot of people, in terms of where they are in the world, can't really change. Well, can't really get a better internet connection, and obviously you can't really change your accent. So hopefully we'll load in just a sec. Do I think that LGD Int can defeat IG in the G League Finals? I think it's extremely unfortunate that the G League Finals need to be a long time after, all of the group stages obviously were. Because the big thing that I thought was going for LGD Int was because they were playing a style that was completely different to anything that the other Chinese teams were playing, and it was actually catching teams off guard. And IG hadn't been forced to play against that style at all, since obviously LGD Int were in the first group coming through, and IG were in the second half of the bracket, and LGD Int were in the top half. So yeah. Yeah, and the metagame should be a little bit different when G League starts as well, assuming that we see a balance patch or something before then. And I think we might, frankly, just with how Phantom Lancer is looking at the moment. Teams haven't been putting as hefty a preference on him, well, even just 2 weeks ago, as we are seeing now. And I think 4.2 might be in for a little bit of a nerf at some point. Maybe just being tuned back a little bit from that edgy game. But I don't know, we might see a balance patch before G League, we might not. It would be nice to see it still be on the same patch, but at the same time, the metagame does shift in and of itself without even any major changes. I mean, a big part of that major buff on PL. I think the other big problem with PL, and I'll just fix the overlay for a second there. But the big problem with PL is that he actually received a whole bunch of buffs at once. I think his illusion cap got increased, his collision size got decreased, and then his agi growth got increased ridiculously. And the other side effect of increasing someone's agility growth by the amount that PL gained is that he now has a lot more. Now has a lot more armor that he didn't have before as well. And just the scaling of agi on an agility here, you get attack speed, you get damage, it buffs up his illusions, he gets more armor. And at this point, the only thing that you really need on PL to make yourself a monster in terms of survivability is just HP. He's got built-in magic resistance from his ultimate. He's got a good escape. He's got even just good distraction and decoys in terms of the illusions. He naturally builds into evasion. Mante is great on him, and that's normally quite survivable. And then all you really need to round things off is to get a little bit of HP, and a heart is a fairly typical pickup on him as well. So we're finally back in the game. Because I'm going to have to cut through and probably deal with things in the VODs, I'll just reintroduce everyone on either side. So on the side of Neolution, Robot Z is going to be playing the Tiny, Misty L is going to be on the Jakiro, Brownies is going to be on the Shadow Demon. We've got King of Sky playing the Rubik. It's actually going to be a solo mid Rubik in this game. Hank or something is playing the Nature's Prophet. Someone's going to have to clarify that for me. Over on the side of Gangster, we've got Kei Yori playing the Keeper of the Light. Mei is going to be on the Phantom Lancer. Heinrich playing the TA, heading towards mid, and actually a crap load of stats picked up for him. It's not a bottle rush at all. He's got 6 tangos. We'll see what sort of build he opts for out of that. A little bit interesting to see. We've got All Is Well playing the Sand King SWS on the puck, and that covers everyone on the side of Gangster. We've got a ward placed down from behind the camp from Neo. I'll just call them Neo in this game, since I keep wanting to call them Netalik for some reason instead of Neolution. So let's have a quick check-in on starting items. That's something that's always interesting as well. We've just got standard obs, sentries for Neo. We don't have any smoke picked up. We did just see the standard bottle rush on the Rubik, and Nature's Prophet actually opting to start off down here. It looks like he's going to be spending quite a bit of time on this off lane, and again, if Gangster get the feeling that nobody's actually down on bot, they can just turn everything into full push mode and try and grab themselves some early towers. We've actually got Sand King off to the side on mid. Rubik, a little bit interesting to see him on mid these days, especially after the nerfs that he's taken. He used to be an okay match against the TA just because of the Fade Bolt, the damage reduction on Fade Bolt, but now with his move speed being so significantly reduced, and even just the minor damage nerf to the Fade Bolt, it does hurt him quite a bit, because the damage nerf is obviously not only harassment, but it's also lane control, and all of that. It all goes hand in hand, and really does see him pushed into the support role that we see him in these days, as opposed to that mid, which he obviously was sort of during the international. We've got a disruption going out on the puck. On top, the ice path going to connect as well. It's only level 1 for everyone, however, and the orb down onto the low ground. SWS makes his escape. The 0-minute rune was still left down on bot, so all as well has managed to pick that one up, but he's standing right underneath the Dire Observer Ward. So Nature's Prophet wisely backs himself all the way back to the tower. This gank really should not connect, and this haste rune probably just going to be, well, mainly wasted. Now heading towards mid, trying to go on King of Sky at least a little bit, who has finished up his bottle, but he doesn't have any mana left for a lift. There's the stun. Heinrich going to work, still has a few more refraction charges. That's the last one. They need one more right click to pick this kill. Nice juke by King of Sky, but not enough, and all is well will draw the first blood there. So, a little bit interesting to see. I mean, they did have a ward here. They did know that the Sand King was heading back towards mid, and I guess a little bit of bad map awareness by King of Sky there. And he spammed out all of his mana trying to finish up his bottle, but with that death, he's now been set back a little bit further, and that really spells trouble for Rubik on this middle lane. Heinrich going to be lifted up into the air. He might take a few tower hits here, but the creep wave still there for a few more seconds. Doesn't actually have enough mana for the refraction, so just going to use the meld to dodge out of the way there. 2-minute rune does spawn, and that's an illusion waiting for him up on top. Actually asserting himself a little bit better in terms of the lane control now, so able to go up without missing out on too much XP. And King of Sky unfortunately disconnects right now, so we will have a very quick pause. And I'll just remember to switch back in the overlay, and Heinrich asking if he can reconnect. So, oh no, King of Sky has already disconnected. Heinrich is back. We're going to have probably a second pause so Heinrich can reconnect. Yeah, there we go. And it was just King of Sky unpausing, so he didn't get all of that context. It's not bad manners or anything like that. So, again, Nature's Prophet, I like the decision to spend all of his time down here on bot. Once he gets up a few more levels, he can afford to just jump between the lane and the jungle as well. But things working out pretty well for him right now. Unfortunately, the Phantom Lancer not under any sort of pressure right now. There's a defensive tri-lane up on top. They've got some okay kill potential against the puck, but if that starts to not really be working out, then they do really need to turn their attention towards a mid, maybe try and get a smoke gank going. Again, they really can't afford to let both TA and PL start to spiral out of control. They need to try and lock down at least one of them and deal with the other one once they use that upper hand to try and go for the push, because the onus right now isn't on Gangster to try and do too much. The Tiny is a nice response to the PL, but it's a game of windows, really. So the PL is quite weak early on, and obviously the illusions are fairly squishy, and Tiny is great with his AoE combo at clearing out the illusions, at ganking PL. It's a nice pickup. Transitioning into the late game, the argument is obviously that Tiny picks up an Aghanim Scepter. He's got nice cleave, so that helps clear out the illusions and all of that. And he's pretty survivable as well with a craggy exterior. But the problem is, once PL reaches a certain point, just AoE physical damage from Tiny isn't going to be enough. So again, the onus is on Neolution to try and make things happen a little bit earlier in this game. And a lot of that comes down to the supports. As always, the supports are the most important, heroes on the entire map for the first few minutes. It's up to them to set up ganks. It's up to them to make sure that all of the warding is in place and proper. And it's really up to them to influence the outcome of this game. So keep an eye on Misty and Brownies to see if they can get some ganks off on the TA mid, or even just find some kills on the puck. What resolution is this? This is 720p, but it may or may not look like it. I haven't really been told other way. I don't really get any complaints, but yeah, again. So we've got the bottle finally coming out for King of Sky, but it's pretty slow, and he hasn't been able to keep the harassment up on Heinrich, who is now pulling ahead easily on mid in terms of last hits, and it's just the nature of the lane for the TA. She's got a lot more last hitting power than the Rubik could hope to have, and Rubik needs to be extremely cautious Well, he needs to be extremely efficient with his use of Fade Bolt, I think is the word that I'm looking for there. We've got Brownies heading towards mid, but it's just him solo and only level 2 as well. King of Sky doesn't really have all that much mana left either, though he does have 2 bottle sipped. Brownies comes in, he's going to have the disruption, but Heinrich actually just heading straight down towards bot. Shadow Poison connect, but now Brownies is actually in trouble. And All Is Well comes in as well, looking for some action, but that's about it, and that's frankly wasted time for the Shadow Demon right now. They came in to gank the Templar Assassin, they didn't bring any anti-invis. They're trying to put some pressure on her, just because of the fact that they can't really gank the puck all that well. I mean, if they can bait out the phase shift at a bad time, then they can connect a kill, but I guess Neo deciding that they want to try and put a little bit more pressure on mid. 4-minute rune spawns, and that's a lucky one for Heinrich. Finds himself a regen. And does really help combat the TA's sort of newfound mana problems with that change to their fraction. So, a nice sort of lucky pickup for him. And yeah, sorry about that, Dill. Well, sorry about that, Pickled. Hopefully I'll be partnered with Twitch at some point, and we'll have re-encode and multiple resolution options and all of that. So, Neo invest 1 hero to try and put some pressure on the TA, but she's still farming up. They can't really find a kill. They do now have some sentry wards online, but I'm not sure if the Rubik and the Shadow Demon are going to be enough to find this kill. With that, maybe some significant mistakes. SWS may be in trouble on top. Pops off the phase shift. Doesn't actually dodge the right click there. So I guess that maybe gives you a small indication of how the pings are working out right now. So mid and bot working out fantastically for Gangster. They're not feeling the pressure. And Neo, we've still got the Shadow Demon hanging out on mid. Now it's level 3, going to throw at the disruption. Soul Catcher as well does connect, so nicely played there. Heinrich actually going forward fairly aggressively, but King of Sky, absolutely no mana. So Heinrich loses a bit of time, but not really all that concerned, and now just getting the traps up on their end. So overall, the Shadow Demon sort of a moot point on mid against the TA. It's surprising to see that Neo didn't just opt to pick up the Quap, who did remain in the pool. If you just pull Quap some sentries early on, she can't actually shut down. She can't actually shut down the TA, and as I say that, I miss a kill up on top. So sorry about that, guys. Looks like SWS got caught out a little bit and just died to the combo of the Tiny and the Zakiro. So hopefully my map awareness will pick itself back up. Speaking of map awareness down on bot, we've got Nature's Prophet in trouble, trapped in the trees. He is going to drop. No hope for him there. A kill found on both offlaners at about the same time. Still fairly even. And well, not actually all that even in terms of levels. Puck getting quite a bit more. So the pull's being run slightly more efficiently for Gangster right now. And again, we saw the Shadow Demon head mid, and we've just had we've had Jakiro trying to get kills off on the puck the whole time, so the pulls may have sort of fallen by the wayside there, and that's probably a big source of the problems. We've got Gangster coming in for a gank on mid. Slow goes down on King of Sky, trying to avoid the Burrow Strike there. Nice slip. Can he TP out? No, he cannot. This is going to be one more kill going the way of Gangster on this middle lane. And a haste rune found by Heinrich as well at the perfect time to go for that gank, though not sure if it made all the difference. So, Gangster now leading 3-1 on the board, and again, I do sort of have to favor their prospect in the late game. Nature's Prophet not going to be as much of a pest as he frequently can be, just because of the Keeper of the Light and the PL sort of good at dealing with the split push, and PL a pretty good split pusher in his own right. And Nature's Prophet now going for a little bit of deny on the tower, but All Is Well coming in from the rear, looking for the Burrow Strike, and PL diving under as well. The tower drops low, TP support actually coming in. Nature's Prophet already dead, needs to get the tower aggro off. Few of my right clicks might do this. A nice little gank there from Brownies. Can they find the deny? Good disruption. Still just waiting. It's got enough HP left, using the illusions to try and deny, but Yori actually finds that last click in at the same time. He was tanking at the tower, so just checking up at the HP bars. Almost dead. So, not looking great for Neolution, but they did manage to find a kill on the Phantom Lancer, diving fairly greedily and couldn't seem to get the tower off him towards the end of that gank. So, did die, still only a 2-kill split on the board. Heinrich heading up towards top, but looks like he came back empty-handed. Yep, didn't miss anything there. The 8-minute rune is just about to spawn, so he's going to camp that one out. It's actually spawned down bot, so that's an illusion down there. And Neo, another kill going off on the Nature's Prophet. Solo epicenter used there by All Is Well. Sorry about that. Again, just not expecting that one. I'm not on the ball right now, but hopefully that will improve. And we've got a lift up onto K. Yori's actually going to find himself up on the high ground, but King of Sky in trouble. This Illuminate might just clip him if it's cancelled properly. Yes, it is. Dropping low, though, May deciding that he doesn't want to chase through. And wisely so, there are 2 Neolution supports waiting for him up on the high ground. And all is well. Not sure what he's going for right now. Maybe dropping off a TP to the Keeper of the Light. Tanking up those creeps there right now. Dropping pretty low. Does have another Bar Strike up in just a second, but no Caustic Finale. He probably won't be able to finish this camp. And Yori actually disconnects. He has a TP now, but hopefully we'll see a reconnect in just a second. And surprised that we don't actually see a pause. I mean, even one of his teammates could micro him. And at the same time, I missed a solo kill from Robot Z finding the puck up on top lane. So it looks like Avatos combo just connecting there for that easy pickoff.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
And ROTK is playing the Furion. Okay. We've got a pause called by the admins, or we've got a pause called by Neo, but not a pause called by Gangster. So, not sure what the go is there. If Cardinal is disconnected long enough, his gold would start to be redistributed. So, yeah, that's a bit weird. Let's have a quick check in on the graphs. It's a 3k XP lead right now for the Radiant side, and 5k the Gold Swing as well. Yori is now back, so going to be able to TP himself out of this prison in just a second. And on mid, Heinrich to target the Ice Path does connect the Soul Catcher as well. Dual Breath there, but now Heinrich turning himself around. Still plenty of dots. One more lift up in the air. Neo actually playing extremely defensively, and now the Refraction back up one more time. So Heinrich actually going for a little bit of a bait. He's still got a Bottle Charge and 13 Magic Wand charges up his sleeve as well. So wasn't in as much trouble as it maybe seemed, and good awareness from him there. Tiny finding some OK farm up on top. We have seen a tower fall, and we're just coming up in the 10-minute mark now, so I'll switch over to net worth since we probably won't see any significant levels of denies anymore. The 10-minute rune has just spawned, and that was an invis picked up by Heinrich down at bot, so probably going to be making use of that fairly soon. Nice little D-ward there from Brownies. So in terms of sight, we've got, well, an attempted D-ward from this sentry up on top. We've still got one Radiant ward down, keeping an eye out on mid. But, well, Neo's support's doing a little bit better in terms of that control. And the sentry didn't actually provide vision of the rune. It's unfortunate. Nice Soul Catcher there from Brownies, but Keeper of the Light is immediately here. And Gangster investing forward just to keep Neo all locked up. Both carries are farming at the same time, and Robot Z actually opting for a Hand of Midas build in this game. Again, it's probably just going to be straight to the Aghanim Scepter for him, though he could make a stop off for something like the Yasha on the way. But given that they've got the Shadow Demon, they're going to have illusions regardless, so we'll probably just see the Ags as that next big rush for him. SWS finding some OK farm. We've got TA TPing in towards top, so we'll keep an eye on this one. The Dream Coil is available. It's going to be thrown down on Robot Z. TP support needs to be here in just a second. He's going to try and TP himself out, but actually going to drop. So TP support just a little bit too late there from Neo, and a nice gank picked up by Heinrich. He's still diving underneath his tower, but there are actually a few heroes here. Going to be Ice Path as well. Not really comboing that perfectly with the Sprout, but still stuck in tower range, eating through those refraction charges with the Dual Breath, trying to make his escape, but looks like he will actually drop. SWS now the target, being right-click down, but Orb going to be off cooldown in just a second. And pretty much all of the disables already used. The Disruption, not actually enough mana there either. Though King of Sky comes in, SWS playing pretty aggressively. We do have the Keeper of the Light coming in, but now thrown back. Nice silence as well. Phase Shift, trying to make his escape, but not sure where the Illusory Orb went. Looks like he maybe threw it out to try and go for a little bit of harassment, and that might have cost him his life. So one more kill picked up there by Neolution, and bringing the scoreboard pretty much back to even. Am I staying up to cover either of match C or D after this one? I likely will be. Robot Z's going to head down towards bot to try and do what he can to hold on to this tier 2. TP support coming in at the same time as well, so they might be able to get this deny off. Barring a very, very sneaky siege creep. Robot Z needs to go for this right now. Otherwise the siege creep is going to take it. And the tower actually destroyed by the Radiant. That was not good play by a Neolution whatsoever. And Rubik managing to get his hands on Sandstorm, unfortunately. Was fishing for the Burrow Strike right there. And level 7, and actually opting to invest the 3rd point in the Sandstorm instead of Burrow Strike. That's frankly a little bit unusual. At the same time, Heinrich finds a tier 1 tower on mid, so things looking pretty good for Gangster right now. And Neo just fighting with some Sand King illusions at this point. What have we got going on? SWS up on top lane. He's actually finding some okay farm. Embracer finished up for him. Robot Z dropping low, looking for all as well. Who's going to hide up in the sandstorm. There's a disruption out on the PL as well. And the follow-up. Keeper of Light in from the side, looking to try and save his buddy. But he will actually pop there from the purge damage. We've got Gangster coming in. King of Sky dropping low. One more right click is all he needs, but a nice meld dodge. Fantastic steal and play there from him, but he can only hide right now. Now back off to the side. Meld back off cooldown. Could have maybe got the auto attack there out of the meld. And now still hiding. Heinrich chasing. Doesn't need to meld that hit just yet. The second one will need to be melded. And well played there by King of Sky. And Nature's Prophet, he is in trouble. Going to sprout himself in, but that actually gives away where he is. And Heinrich going to find him. One more right click. Going to be picking up that kill. If he hadn't sprouted, he might have been able to hide in there. Just out of sight. But I think as TA came down, she would have briefly got LOS as she came through the fog. So, exciting stuff there. We've now got Gangster grouping up for a bit of a push on top. After all that engagement, we saw the score even up, but it's going to be one more kill going the way of Gangster as they find Robot Z. And farming a long way out, especially given that the tier 1 tower is already gone. And Heinrich, pretty good luck with him so far for these runes. Finds himself with double damage and does now have a Yasha picked up as well. So just the net worth really telling the story of this game right now. Tiny is finding some okay farm, but he's also finding a lot of deaths. And Gangster putting the pressure on. They are yet to lose a tier 1 tower as well. Is the stream freaking out? Sorry about that, guys. King of Sky is going to disconnect, so we're going to have a pause. And I will just take this opportunity to have a quick check-in on the net graphs. So it's a 4k XP lead in favor of the Radiant. And closing the spectator box, it's over 7.5k gold to swing. About 10k. Well, about 10k there. Check PL items there. What have we got? He's got 3.3k gold in the bank, so looks like it's actually going to be a Radiance perhaps for him. Not really a big fan of the build, just given how strong Diffusal is these days. Manta, Diffusal, Heart, pretty typical, but he's actually going to purchase the Diffusal Blade right as I say that. So, May, realizing just how much gold he did have up, and was just waiting to buy the Diffusal outright for whatever reason. So, Gangster set their sights on Rush. Heinrich can actually solo this with a double damage at the level that he is, so keep an eye on that. SWS going to be helping out a little bit, but the meld minus armor and the refraction damage just a little bit too strong. So, Robot Z doesn't even have any idea that this is happening, and Roshan going to be falling in just a second. We'll see if PL comes across to try and grab it. The real PL is actually all the way up here, so it looks like Heinrich is just going to be taking that one. So looking pretty good again for Gangster right now. Neolution, just a lot of wasted time for the supports early game. Rubik as a mid couldn't really make all that much happen. Again, I think it would have been nice to see something like the Queen of Pain pick up instead of the Rubik recruited Burst Strike through on mid. The lift backwards from King of Sky. He does have the Burst Strike to try and escape. The Soul Catcher does connect now, the Burst Strike back onto Heinrich. They need the Dual Breath and the Macro Pyre to actually chew through those charges, but Misty dropping low. Heinrich finds that kill. He does still have the Aegis up as well. King of Sky stunned up, but found the meld one more time. The one meld right click brings down the TA, who's going to be respawning in just a second, but 4 heroes standing right around here. Heinrich's not done, however, jumping on King of Sky. He did have the meld, but actually stunned there by the Dreamcoil. SWS comes in from the side. A few more right clicks through, and looks like Brownie is going to be the next target. One more right click, securing that kill off to the side. Robot Z making his entrance, but also making a very stylish exit at the hands of Gangster there. So they're going to try and turn this one into a tier 2 tower as well. And it should be fine to do so. SWS now has a Blink Dagger up as well, and the offlane puck actually now actually eclipsing the Tiny in terms of farm. So Tiny definitely having Tiny having anything but a fun game right now. And Gangster, they're not done. They can just continue pushing. They've now got the Diffusal up on the PL, so he's not actually all that farmed for 17 minutes in and all of the towers almost being gone. But who am I to complain? They are winning right now. And last tier 2 is going to be claimed as well. They've got a while to wait for Roshan, so we'll see if they can try and break the base. They do have a mech picked up on the Keeper of the Light. They don't really have anyone that can naturally carry a pipe. They've got a Blink Dagger finished up on the Sand King, and again a Blink Dagger finished up on the Puck, so they have reached a new sort of plateau in effectiveness, at least for a while, and Yuri misclicks there. I think he just managed a creep, but anywho. So Robot continues to farm up, but it's 17 minutes in, and starting with the Midas, those 3 deaths have just set him so far back from his Aghanim Scepter, and fairly under-leveled as well. If we have a quick check-in on the levels, it's not actually that bad. I guess PL has been roaming around the map quite a bit, and Tiny getting all the bonus XP from that Midas. It's actually a worse situation than it looks, because you would expect Tiny to have levels above the PL, since he has the Midas and he should be Midasing big creeps to try and get to level 16 as quickly as he possibly can. But the fact that he's even with the PL at this point, and the PL has actually been participating in a lot of kills, it paints a pretty grim picture right now. So Gangster continue to put the pressure on. We'll take a quick check in on the warding situation. So some nice aggressive wards up for Gangster right now. And again, even if they can't make it up onto the high ground just yet, they can just play the starvation game, wait until the PL is even bigger, get a few more items up on him, maybe wait around for the next Roshan, and then look to push up onto the high ground. Neo, again, they can't really leverage the Nature's Prophet at all in terms of split push, so he's not being all that useful right now. And the support's good at defensive play. They could try and go for a really aggressive, I suppose, smoke gank. When you're behind, it does help to try and be a little bit risky. They do obviously have the potential to get their own army of PLs in the late game, and SWS blinks all the way into the base. Not sure what he's going for here. We'll be able to jaunt away, and a haste up as well. So Puck finds himself in a hairy situation by the tier 4s, but does manage to survive in the end. So balls on this Puck, I suppose. May continue to put the pressure on bot. Gangster still just grouped up a little bit on mid, the 2 blinkers staying up on the high ground, maybe trying to bait something out on Yuri and Heinrich, but I think they're relatively unconcerned. And again, Neo needs to hold on to this game pretty much until the Shadow Demon's own PLs are going to be strong enough to wipe out Gangster's own team, I believe. There is the potential for that to happen, but that is a long way away. And yeah, TA does now have her Desolator finished up as well. So Neo just roaming from lane to lane, spamming down the creep waves, trying to get up as much XP as they can. It's unfortunate. Well, okay, this is a very minor point, but they're actually still splitting XP 5 ways. At this point in the game, it would be nice to get levels up on everyone, and they do need to get a max disruption up on the Shadow Demon if they're going to have any hope. But the other supports are already starting to peak a little bit, and getting levels on them isn't going to be as important as trying to get these levels up on the Tiny. He really does need to get up towards that level 16 to have any hope against the PL illusions. And once he sort of reaches that point, PL is probably going to have his Manta and maybe even a Heart finished as well. So Gangster, again, just non-stop with the pressure right now, committing quite a few heroes to the pressure as well. Though looks like we've actually got Nature's Prophet trying to find a meager amount of farm, just jumping up into the Radiant Jungle. The Dream Coil goes down on King of Sky, and 2 blinks through. They find that kill. The Soul Catcher does connect, but all is well, actually saving the blink to make his escape there. So 1 pick off for Gangster, and they're just going to head straight up onto the high ground. They've got the Desolator going to work for them. The Fortification is not available. Heinrich going to be stunned, and the buyback from King of Sky, realizing that they do need to defend. The Cuddle Blast going to be flying through in just a second as well. SWS blinking forward aggressively. The Illuminate fortunately stolen there by King of Sky. Brownies drops low, and TA looking for that kill. Now just going to turn his attention back to the tower. Tier 3 dropping low, and SWS finds a kill on Nature's Prophet in the back lines of the base. Heinrich dropping low a little bit, though he does still have a few bottle charges up. SWS in the middle of play. Does get the silence off on King of Sky, though. Misty is just barely out of that one. Yuri chasing forward aggressively, but I would hope that the pings are just being spammed on the racks right now. Nice toss-up, nice combo. All is well comes through, but actually stunned up by the Ice Path a little bit there. Will drop. And Heinrich dropping low, but now jumping onto Robot Z. Might sacrifice his life here, but the Melted actually picks up that kill, a disruption, and the Illuminate flying through. Brownie's just barely alive using those wand charges, but SWS picks himself up a kill. Heinrich now chasing through. 1 Melted is going to be killing off the Jakiro, and now all of Neo dead on the sidelines. Nature's Prophet has no respawn, but the melee barracks on bot is going to be taken by PL and mid going to be taken by TA. So this is looking a lot like game at the moment. So range track's going to fall at the same time. PL going to be trying to get up a few illusions, but getting unlucky on these creeps. So just going it alone on these, well, just going it alone on the range tracks right now. Neo start to respawn, but they're already 2x down, and Gangster just heading up onto the high ground. Yori disconnects again, but I'm not sure if they even need him at this point. We might see one last valiant defense from Neolution. I don't think they're out of this just yet. I believe that this qualifier is a double elimination. So it's best of ones and a double elimination. The winner obviously getting, or making their way through into the actual SEA League, which is going to be run in... Oh, I actually have no idea. I'm going to have to check those dates for everyone. So GG still not called just yet from Neo. We've got enough gold for the Manta Style finished up on the Phantom Lancer. And speaking of that Manta Style, it's actually on the Courier. So that 5.3k gold is additional to that, and that's not actually counting, well, the value from the 3k that he's missing from the orb and the Manta recipe isn't counting towards his net worth right now. So that's a bit of a problem, and now picking up some more items as well. Okay, no, so it was actually counting towards his net worth, interestingly. That didn't seem like they were in his stash, so not sure what was going on there. Oh, that's actually May's, that is May's recipe for the Manta Style. Okay, so exciting stuff. Wait, where the heck did... What? Okay, now that's May. It was Heinrich's before. So yeah, now jumping back up to 15k. Just getting a little bit confused there, confusing myself, I think. Gangster coming up onto the high ground for the last push. Neo still holding on valiantly, but being forced to maintain bot and mid at the exact same time. And Gangster getting in position to try and make their way up onto the high ground, just using the Doppelwalk illusion to start things off. He's got the Manta Style available as well. King of Sky being right-clicked down by the illusion. Unlucky splits right now for May, and Yori dropping low. Nice macro power connect on 3 with Bar Strike through, killing off the Jakiro. Shadow Demon going to be the next to drop, and Nature's Prophet actually breaks the Dream Coil stun there, so he's going to die for a wipe in favor of Gangster. And Robot Z, all he can do is retreat back to the safety of his fountain and try and hide. So Mega Creep's coming up coming up very, very shortly. And again, the onus was really on Neolution to try and win this game early, just with how the draft worked out for Gangster. So the GG is finally going to be called there by the stand-in Robot Z. And then hopefully we'll be getting underway with the, well, I think there's still a lot more games coming up tonight, so I'll probably be hanging out for those. Looks like I did drop a few frames in amongst this game as well, so sorry about that, guys. Not a whole lot that I can do. Australian internet just hating me as always, so hopefully it's more or less stable. A few less team fights breaking out near the Dire Fountain, but the GG has already been called, and Robot Z almost being killed off exclusively by illusions. May going to town, and Misty, who has already disconnected off the next ones will fall. So Ancient going to be taking a fall in just a second as well. This has been the qualifiers, well, the qualifier number 1 for SEA League. So there's this qualifier, there's going to be a bunch of teams invited, and then also Neo Dota are going to be running their own qualifier at a different time. But I've been Baseskip. Thanks everyone for joining me for this game. We've got more action for SEA League coming up in a little bit, I believe, so stay tuned for that, and hope to see you in future broadcasts.